So I guess it's time for the big one, huh? So this is my attempt at motorizing the P1 McLaren, and as usual I made a digital file of the chassis. So the basic idea is that I have the 8 motors driving the wheels, but to come to this chassis I first had to build the original frame, which is in the background here. So this is how it started, with the original frame. And the first idea was actually that the 8 motors are driving the rear differential, which is driving the wheels, but then I upgraded the idea basically so that the 4 motors on the left side are driving the left wheel and 4 motors on the right side are driving the right wheel. This is how I get basically electronic differential option, and it also reduces strain on the components because they only have to survive the torque of 4 motors, let's say. So this is the basic idea of the chassis. Of course there's still some things missing, but I think it's good enough for me to start working on it. And as mentioned, I'm using 8 BuWizz motors for driving, 4 BuWizz 3 controllers, 1 powered up L motor for steering, and 1 powered up medium motor which will be activating the spoiler, and that one is hidden here between the drive motors. So that's the idea. Now let's go and build it. So here's a progress update. The rear axle is mostly done, and that is basically the most difficult part because I had to squeeze 8 motors. 4 are driving the right side and 4 are driving the left side, and I'm using the Audi's hubs, for which I'll print some adapters so that the wheels can fit directly on, so I don't have to print new wheels. And one thing worth mentioning is that the fake engine this time is actually driven directly by the rear motors. I'm using a 3.2 millimeter bar. I don't know if it's visible in here, but the point of using the bar is that it allows the gears to slip when the car is making a turn, but other than that they are driving the fake engine via a worm gear here, and it's a very simple and elegant solution, so I don't have to use another motor for which I don't really have much space, and I think it's well, it works, so I'm happy with that. And down here is the motor which will be used for lifting and lowering the spoiler. That mechanism still needs to be installed, of course, and we can already see 2 BuWizz bricks here which will be driving the motors, and this one will be also controlling the spoiler. I still need to do a bit of cable management, and here is where the console will go and so on. So that's the progress for now. Next time I'll be working on the front axle and joining them together. Okay, so here's a progress update. Now we have a rolling chassis. So the motor here in the front is for steering. There is one BuWizz 3.0 right underneath it. I had to change the original position from in front here to the back because the cable length is limited. These cables are really stretched as far as they can go, so that's the furthest I could put the BuWizz 3.0 here. Another BuWizz 3.0 is under here, and I made a special mechanism so it's easier to turn on. So there's a BuWizz hidden down there, and if you press the red button it turns on. You can see the blinking. So it's like this is the switch for it. Then another BuWizz is here, and another BuWizz is right afterwards, right behind the seat here. And as you can see, the seats are very close to the motors. It's a very tight fit, but I did manage to fit 8 motors, and it all works. So now that the rolling chassis is done, all is left to do is to finish the bodywork, and hopefully everything will turn out as it should. So another thing worth mentioning is that I also redesigned the steering system. So I'm using a much longer steering arm here by 1 stud, which increases the accuracy and reduces the slack. Another thing to help reduce the slack is addition of another steering arm system here, so that further reduces the slack. And finally I replaced the 8-tooth, the original 12-tooth gear with an 8-tooth gear, which increases the power to the steering system and further reduces the slack and increases accuracy. So that's about it. We'll see how it goes once it's finished. So the model is almost finished. The only thing still missing are the 3D printed discs, which I will print shortly. And yes, I managed to cram everything inside while preserving the original looks. You can also open the hood, and here you'll find the powered up L motor for steering, cables for charging for the BuWizz that is underneath it. If we open the passenger side door, there's a bit more cables for charging, and there are 3 BuWizz bricks here. So 2 are in the console and 1 is hidden under the front, let's say, bonnet, and you can activate it by pressing this button, and you can see it starts blinking. So all the BuWizzes have been integrated successfully. So in total of 4 BuWizzes that are driving the 8 drive motors. Now this is a bit hard to remove. I have to remove the spoiler first, but anyway, there are 8 drive motors here, and there's also, as mentioned before, 1 powered up L motor for steering and 1 more powered up M motor, which will be activating the spoiler. So we'll see how it runs after I print the discs and we give it a proper test drive. So here's the prototype disc. It fits really nicely. As you can see, the brake calipers and everything fit as they should. The only thing I will slightly change is the size of the holes. Currently they're a bit too loose. I think I can decrease the size by about 0.05 of a millimeter. This way I'll have more clutch power, so there is less of a chance of wheels falling off. Okay, so the model is more or less complete, and I decided to give it a quick test on the dyno. I expect around 25 to maximum of 30 kilometers an hour given its gear ratio, so let's give it a shot. So let's turn on the dyno first. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's very loud. So 29.9 kilometers an hour, so we should be doing around 30 if everything goes well. So that's the theory, and next time we'll see how well it runs in practice.